selling the Trump meme coin.
Trump's meme coin surged 50% yesterday. Why? Well, the president offered to host its top holders for a private dinner in Washington.
Trump put a Fox News talking head with a drinking problem in charge of America's defense, texting attack plans on his personal phone.
The Pentagon loses another $70 million fighter jet.
What's Donald Trump doing when he should be protecting our families? All we wanted was a government that worked. What did we get? Corruption and incompetence. Donald Trump. It's just not working.
It was supposed to be a routine political segment, just another evening of televised punditry. But what unfolded on live TV became one of the most talked about political moments of the year. A brutal, hilarious, and devastating parody that left former President Donald Trump visibly rattled and his wife Melania stunned into silence. The skit, a sharp satire staged by a popular late-night comedy troupe.
Now, air travel is worse than ever.
Newark International Airport experienced its third major equipment outage in less than 2 weeks over the weekend, causing problems not only in the New York area, but airports across the country.
Most of us want a government that does its job and leaves us alone. The Trump administration is failing. Trump turned Elon Musk loose with a chainsaw. And what happened? Chaos. Musk slashed jobs at the Federal Aviation Administration. Trump put a longtime heroin addict kook in charge of our nation's health. It's a clown show.
The country's deadly measles outbreak is getting worse.
New cases of the bird flu are raising alarms among health officials.
Took aim at Trump's obsession with comparing himself to Abraham Lincoln. What began as laughter soon turned into political carnage. The parody aired during a primetime comedy special hosted by one of America's most watched late-night comedians. Known for his unapologetic takedowns of politicians, the host introduced the segment by sarcastically referencing Trump's infamous claim, "No president has done more for Black Americans than me, with the possible exception of Abraham Lincoln."
All deported with no court hearing, no due process. It's evil. Would you ignore an Amber Alert about a kidnapped child? Of course. Not just any U.S. citizens, children, toddlers. A 2-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 7-year-old. One of them has cancer.
Then, with dramatic flair, the lights dimmed, and the stage was transformed into a 19th century set. A tall figure in a stovepipe hat stepped forward, the actor playing Abraham Lincoln. But this Lincoln wasn't the stoic, restrained figure of American textbooks. This Lincoln had swagger, sarcasm, and a razor-sharp tongue. Dressed in black and channeling the spirit of stand-up, the parody version of Honest Abe began what would become a ruthless, line-by-line dismantling of Trump's legacy.
It can't happen to me until it can, and then it does. Donald Trump is an angry, bitter old man at war with what it means to be an American. It's not. Think about your children, your nieces and nephews, American citizens, just like those who were taken. You think it couldn't happen to your family? It's always that way. Deporting American children, arresting a judge who stood up to his administration. We can all disagree on politics, but this is deeper. Donald Trump is out of control.
"I freed the slaves," he said with biting wit. "You freed the racists on Twitter." The audience erupted. Then came the punch after punch. "I united a broken nation during Civil War. You divided a stable one over bathroom signs and Big Macs." The jokes didn't just land. They bombed the credibility Trump had tried to build around the Lincoln comparison for years. Every line was soaked in sarcasm and delivered with surgical precision. The segment wasn't just comedy, it was strategy, satire with a mission to expose and humiliate. Trump, watching the broadcast from Mar-a-Lago with his inner circle and Melania, reportedly became irate almost immediately. Sources close to the former First Lady claim she was visibly stunned by the segment. "She was speechless," said one insider. "It was as if the mask cracked, and she saw what the rest of the world saw, someone being taken apart, not with hate, but with truth." The Lincoln parody shifted from personal jabs to policy critique. "You fumbled a pandemic, called it a hoax, then caught it yourself," Lincoln quipped, pacing the stage. "I had a civil war and a country in pieces, But at least I didn't spend my time tweeting from the bathtub. Perhaps the most explosive moment came when the parody Lincoln pulled out a golden mirror and held it to the camera. "Donald," he said, now solemn, "I didn't lead for praise. I led to serve. You lead for applause, and when you don't get it, you whine like a Broadway understudy who got cut from the chorus line." Live audiences gasped, and even in homes across the nation, people paused to catch their breath. Social media exploded. Within minutes, hashtags like $Lincoln roasts Trump, $Melania shocked, and $Gettysburg burn began trending worldwide. Millions retweeted clips from the show, and political commentators across the spectrum weighed in. One conservative pundit tried to brush it off as liberal comedy gone too far, but even some Republicans privately admitted the parody had struck a nerve. It was funny, yes, but more than that, it was painfully accurate. What made the parody especially powerful was that it didn't rely on caricature or exaggeration. It simply used Trump's own words, reframed through the lens of history. "You said you're the most persecuted man in American history," the actor declared. "Try getting shot in the head at a theater for trying to end slavery. Then come talk to me." Reports claim Trump attempted to call the network's CEO during the show's airing, but his calls went unanswered. His Truth Social page, usually alive with caps-locked fury, remained silent for hours. Then came the inevitable post, full of bluster and wounded pride. "So disrespectful. The so-called Lincoln was fake. Nobody has done more for America than me. The show was a total bomb." But the numbers said otherwise. The special broke viewership records, and the parody segment alone racked up over 80 million views online within 48 hours. Talk shows, podcasts, and political analysts continued to replay and dissect the skit for days. The impact was undeniable. For Melania, the moment seemed to mark a turning point. Sources close to her suggest she's grown increasingly distant from Trump's political circus, and watching him be publicly dismantled, especially by the very icon he frequently invokes, left a lasting impression. "She didn't defend him," said one source. "She didn't say a word. She just stared at the screen." The Lincoln parody has already been labeled a historic moment in political comedy, a cultural moment where laughter became a weapon and satire succeeded where reasoned argument had failed. It was a reminder that sometimes comedy can hold a mirror so clearly that even those who refuse to see themselves can't look away. As for Trump, the scars from that night may not fade easily. In the weeks that followed, insiders say he's grown paranoid about more ambush comedy and has started screening interviews and appearances with increasing caution. But the damage was done. A fictionalized Abraham Lincoln had done what countless politicians, journalists, and critics could not. He made Trump the punchline of his own legacy. And for Melania, only time will tell if her silence was just shock or the beginning of something bigger. But one thing is certain. On that night, on that stage, history's most revered president looked straight into the camera and buried a modern one with wit, class, and devastating truth.